Hey guys, it's Rick.
And Joe.
And today on Celebrity Pedals, we are going to show you
how to build a pedal board.
So, we got our pedal board. This is the Pedaltrain Classic Pro. So this is before they came out with the ones that had the thinner slots. This is the normal thick, wider slots. So we're going to take this board. I've got several pedals. I've got a power supply. And we're going to just go through step by step and show you how to build this board. So first thing I like to do is attach the power supply. The power supply we're using is the Mondo. I'll show you there. I'll show you there. Yeah, so the Voodoo Labs Pedal Power Mondo. What's cool about these power supplies is they come with brackets. So all you gotta do is attach that to the Mondo and then find it just figure out where you want to attach it on the board, and it will attach like so to the board. So I think I'm going to put it on this side, since all my heavier pedals are going to be on this side, so it'll kind of counterbalance.
Yeah, you don't want to drop to one side.
Yeah, and just balance. Okay, so I'm going to take a screwdriver. And I'm going to just make some marks on where I want to drill. And yes, you are going to drill into the actual board. So I do have a drill and a bit and some screws. So here we go.
This is where we will mark what will soon be pilot holes.
Yes. So just mark a hole there. And I'm going to mark a hole there. I'm going to mark a hole right here too. I think this is showing up. Yeah, you can actually see it pretty well. Okay.
And if this is a little bit more than some people can bite off, more than they could chew, we would have a tech that can do this kind of service right here. Shameless plug.
Oh no, definitely.
Shameless plug.
We could do it too, but you could always too, if you didn't want to get, if you were getting a smaller power supply, you could just throw like Velcro on there and just Velcro it to the bottom or Velcro it to the top if you had the space available. So
mine is totally Velcroed and
no, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I just have a lot of pedals that I want to fit on top, so it gives me more space, and I'm going to be plugging in a lot of pedals in this thing. So now
I've got. Would be a shame not to.
It really would.
It'd be funny if you had like a tuner.
Well, just it. It's all a big giant pedal board.
And you don't even use your tuner.
How many pedals you got? Just one.
It's a T, but I use my Snark.
It's the mini.
Yeah.
But no, and I just have that on the board in case my Snark battery dies.
Yeah, we're just drilling these for the first time now.
We've marked the hole, and now we're gonna just drill a couple holes in there with a 1/8 drill bit,
as recommended.
Okie dokie.
This is, of course, our first try. Didn't run into any problem.
Not at all.
Nothing broke.
It's your average, normal.
Just doing some work here.
Pedalboard video. You know, I did just get my first drill last year. The year I became a man.
Yeah. So you've had your drill less time than you've had a baby? You cut.
Huh? Oh, yeah. That was not from the projectile, though. That was not from the projectile.
It was totally there before we shot this video.
It was, I think, the drill, like, right across my hand. See? It's nothing.
The first thing you do when installing a pedal board.
So easy, a child can do it.
I mean, happy Halloween!
Okay, good. So, that was easy.
Yeah.
So we got our holes drilled.
It totally didn't take longer than expected.
Never.
Let's see if these line up now.
They should. Give us plenty of options.
What are those boards that look like Swiss cheese?
Oh, the holy boards.
Holy board.
Yeah. Holy boards. Holy boards. This is going to be a killer pedal board. Literally.
It's going to kill you.
Oh, boy. All right. The fun part's coming, ladies and gentlemen.
Alright, now only several seconds later.
Okay, so here we go. It's attached and securely affixed to the board.
Like that, affixed.
Affixed,
It's
yeah.
affixed.
Thoroughly attached and affixed. Okay. Sorry if I sound congested. It's going around. Alright, so that is done. So we will come back to that later. What's cool is you can see has an extra plug, so you can plug in, I don't know, maybe like a 1990s Memory Man Deluxe.
Yeah, hey, yeah.
And then it also, you can see where you have your power. And then on this side is where all your power will be supplied to the pedals. So we'll come to that later. The next step is fun. Next step is Velcro time. We'll be right back. Alright, so the next step is the Velcro on the board. So
Yes.
Velcro is behind you, Joe.
Oh, yes. I
Just
just
show them
did
what.
this one.
So this is what the Pedaltrain comes with.
That is.
This is the soft
loop. I think that's what they call that.
Is that what it is?
Loop is because it's hook and loop.
Hook and loop.
I believe is another way of putting it.
Well, I like to put the loop on the board, and the biggest reason is because the hook collects hair, and the thing I like least is a hairy board.
And I will say the other reason I've gone with the same method is because I started out with a board that was already fuzzy like that.
Yeah.
So in order to seamlessly transfer from one to another, this would be what goes on the pedals. That is what I would put down as my board. So that way you're not constantly flipping the two around.
Yes.
And I think most people do it that way. Yeah, most commonly.
so. Yeah.
Because if a lot of boards, if they are velcroed or pre-carpeted, or like I've had a Road Runner board that was like that, the loop side is usually what, or the hook side is what you want to put on the pedal. The loop side is what goes on the board.
Yep.
And yes, this does collect just about anything.
Yeah.
Pet hair, people hair.
Yeah, no, it's even like at home when I'm like rearranging my board, I'll forget that heart is on the hook is on the pedal.
Oh, you set it on the carpet.
Oh. And then you're like, every piece of cat hair and leg hair and any other hair is on the bottom of your pedal.
If you want to find out how gross your carpet really is, build a pedal board. You'll be in for a shock.
Or if you just want to know the best way to clean your carpet.
That's a good point.
All right. So you will need scissors because you will be cutting. That's what scissors are for. And how I like watch. I don't want to stab you. So what I like to do, this is how I've done it, is I will measure from here to here, and then I will
Give
cut.
yourself a guideline there.
Yeah. And I will cut just a little bit. I don't like it hanging over the edge because then it'll catch and pull off. So I like to get it right before the edge. That way you get a good secure connection with
The way you're also not wasting it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I've had to go around and hunt down big thing. Managed to find like a 30-foot roll at Walmart to do mine recently.
And that's, I was going to say that, like if you maybe build your own pedal board or something like that and you're wondering how to get, you should get industrial strength Velcro.
Yeah,
and you can
get the strongest stuff you can because it will. In fact, the stuff I bought was suggested use was garden sheds. And it was for like hanging up shovels and stuff like that.
So if it can hold a shovel,
It'll probably
hold the tube screamer.
Probably hold the tube screamer. Maybe a timeline.
Maybe a timeline.
Maybe
we'll see.
Maybe something nice like that.
Strong.
Maybe our favorite Canyon delay. It's pretty awesome.
Ooh, speaking of which, off topic, Canyon Deluxe delay. Have you seen the previews for that?
No, but I imagine that I'm about to have to go buy something now. So
Yeah, sorry.
let me guess, stereo.
And it's basically, you know how the Canyon was like a little bit smaller, right? This one's like that. And it's
I kind
got
of like the smaller pedals.
yeah.
I like to cram as much as I can on my board. So the smaller the better.
Smaller the better. Okay, so we got
We
it.
got a little bit of length there.
Get over here. Get over here. Okay.
Finish it.
Cool. All right.
Yeah, I mean,
So
it
we've got
stands
our
to reason though. I mean, every time I buy something from Electro Harmonics, they come out with something else cool that I need to buy.
like that new
Triumph.
the Triumph. Okay, so then I'm gonna have Joe help me on that side. If you would just kind of just measure it.
Do the mock-up.
Yeah. Just you can kind of just go ahead and attach it center on there. Yeah, that's perfect. And then what you do is you kind of pre-pull it a little bit, and that way you can just pull a little bit at a time, and just kind of make sure that you're not
Pre-pull,
going
don't post-pull.
askew.
You don't want your pedal board to be all cattywampus.
Well, yeah. There.
Kind of flim-flam pedal board are we making here?
Yep. So I've got my concentration face on.
And then you plop your one pedal right in the center. That would be funny. Oh, that's a board we need to make to send to Fluff. Let's find the biggest pedal board we can, and
Just
then
put a
get like
tuner on
the
it?
smallest tuner, stick it in the middle, but like sideways.
Yeah, not even straight.
With like one of those really bad power supplies.
So this is a little time consuming, but you do want to make sure that it's straight.
Yeah, you're only gonna do this once, so it's worth doing right. And this is industrial strength adhesive and Velcro, so you want it to stick on there properly. Which, if you happen to be redoing an older board, another suggestion I would have is make sure you properly clean it.
Yeah.
It's just like anything. There's instructions on almost everything you use.
Well, and to be fair, even Pedaltrain tells you to wipe down even a brand new board with just a
because it's just, and this is with guitars, with anything, folks. Just so I can throw that out there.
You can.
Things don't come clean from the factory. There's usually
Not always.
dust. There's usually wood chips. That's how you do that right there.
All right, next strip.
All right.
Oh yeah. Cool.
Tastes like 8 a.m.
Oh yeah. All right. For tomorrow, just gonna leave it. Okay, cool. So now we have the loop end.
I believe this is loop. It's hook and loop.
Okay. So the next thing we want to talk about, of course, we went ahead and talked about power. What I love about the pedal power, whether it's the Voodoo Lab pedal power Mondo or the pedal power 2 or whatnot, and even the stuff that we have with the ISO brick from MXR.
A DC brick as well.
Yep, and even the One Spot. I mean, they've been making isolated stuff lately too at great prices. Basically, the power's gonna be isolated, so it's not unlike a One Spot daisy chain where all the power goes through and is supplied to each thing, and you're gonna get you just get noise sometimes.
You can get some noise,
a lot of noise
because they're all being chained together, and there's also risks of drawing too much, or
you only have so much.
You only have so much current that you can draw. I believe on those it's 1700 milliamps,
right?
Which for a normal person, that's fine.
Yeah, something like this. When you have
we are not normal.
When you have a problem. Okay,
I mean, we do need an overdrive, a distortion, and a fuzz, and a compressor.
2 overdrives.
How are you?
2 fuzzes.
It's true.
2 delays. 2 reverbs.
6 is good.
Well, so this is the fun part. So the next step is you want to make sure your pedals fit on the board. You could have too many pedals.
This is what I like to call the mock-up stage,
Yeah.
where you kind of figure out what's going to fit where. Of course, counting, signal chain, the order of the pedals you want to put it in. But also, too, a good time to mention the spacing of your cables. If you have the small flat pancake connectors, those usually fit a little bit closer. But I know on my Mogami cables, I need to leave about that much clearance between each pedal because one side's got a cable, the other side's got a cable, and since typical manufacturers are going to load them on the side rather than the in and output jacks being on the back, you kind of have to account for that. So this is where you mock it up. This is where you're going to see what's going to fit where, and usually, for me personally, the way I decide that is based off of course, signal chain, the order the pedals are going to be in, but also the frequency at which I'm going to be hitting those pedals. So for me, my tuner is way up here, out of the way. I need it once in a while. I turn it on, turn it off. But however, if I have wall pedals, anything with tap tempo, a looper like the Ditto looper or something like that, I don't want to be reaching my little leg all the way back each time. I just want to be right here.
Your foot to demonstrate that. Because
I want to demonstrate my very short inseam. And I do, again, have a pedal board this big. So, it's very difficult. Yep. But Rick actually has an even better solution for that.
Yes.
Which we will also be using.
So, this is a looper, not to be confused with a looper. So this one, as you can always,
where's my guitar so I can do the tuner joke?
Yeah, the tuner. So this is this is basically like an effects loop in an amp, right? So you can run a pedal in a loop and it not be in series. So it's taking it out. This one I bought used, and it's already got some Velcro on the bottom. So we're gonna and I already know where it's gonna go. It's gonna go right here on the bottom. Why? Because I want to be able to reach all these and not have to do it way up here or whatnot. So this is going to be at the bottom. What's cool about this is I can plug my tuner in there. I can do a bypass where it bypasses all the loops, and then I have 7 loops that I could do some fun stuff with, which we're going to do. We're going to show you how that works.
And I guess to further explain it too, this is going to allow it to remotely access pedals, which some artists, it could be in a rack drawer somewhere. These will all be contained on the pedal, but this way, again, you don't have that problem of reaching all the way to the back. You can just click right there. Done. Easy peasy.
And what's cool is you're going to see I'm going to run maybe 2 pedals in one loop, 2 pedals in another, one by itself. So you can, and then depending on what song you're playing, what pedal you need, you just turn that pedal on or off, and then...
It's fancy.
So we got the looper placed. The next thing I want is I use a volume pedal. So my volume pedal is going to go right here.
Again, another one where you probably want access to it because you're going to need it. So having it as far away as possible.
Yeah. So this is just the Dunlop Volume X Mini, and some people say they just can't get used to the mini pedals. I got used to them right away. Maybe it's just selfish reasons. I can get more stuff on my board.
Oh, totally.
But it works great. They're super heavy duty.
I think most people's hang-ups are, well, I'm a size 15.
You're definitely not size 15.
But even then, still, it's like say a lot. I don't know. It's not the size of the pedal.
So I'm gonna this is gonna be my volume. So pretty much, my volume's gonna go here. What's cool about this Volume Pedal Mini X is that it can also act as an expression pedal. And I've got some delay and reverb pedals. Actually, I'm probably going to use it for a reverb pedal with an expression. So I purchased a second one. Because I can.
Because we don't have problems.
No, not at all.
This is normal stuff that a normal person would do. It's not weird.
No. So this one...
some more Velcro.
We will. But we'll get to that second. Okay. I don't, because we're doing the mock-up, so I'm not going to do it. Yeah, so I don't have...
Yeah, if you're doing your mock-up and you haven't Velcroed the bottom of your pedals, it's probably best, because then you won't have to rip them off.
The problem is you will see that most of my pedals already have Velcro, because they came from another board. So, so that expression is going to go right here. They're just that good.
Well, and that just shows the extra purpose of them also
Yes.
as well.
So this is going to be my volume, and this is going to be an expression to control the reverb pedal, the M300. The other thing I want to go ahead and place here, my delay is tap tempo capable. So I've got this cute little
Throne room, right?
Throne room,
Yes.
tap tempo. It's just a non-latching momentary switch, right?
Yep.
Momentary is a word for that. And all it's going to do is I'm going to stick this here, and it's just going to be in there so I can get my foot in there and tap. 'cause I have
Shameless
small
plug.
feet.
We also sell the MXR, which is equally as adorable.
Yes, we do have the
And
yes, nothing wrong with a shameless plug. So that's going to go there. So that's going to be my tap tempo. So I've got volume, expression, tap tempo, and my tuner. So,
Which I guess again would reinforce the idea that if you have something like this, put it to where you can get to
you
it.
need to be able to access it.
because-
you don't. It's stupid to have it up.
Out of the way, because otherwise, why'd you bother with the tap tempo?
Yeah, exactly.
You're not using it.
Nope.
You
So
need
that's
that.
going to go there. Okay. So got that laid out. What do you typically like? So usually you have your wall. If you're going to have a wall, you're going to put that first usually.
Me personally, the after my wireless and tuner pedal, which I always put the tuner up to the front. Oddly enough, on my own personal pedal, I have my Phase 90. And that kind of goes against it.
Modulation, right.
It kind of goes against the whole putting modulation after dynamics and drive pedals. But the thing is, when I first got my Phase 90, I actually placed it after my distortion, and I hated how it sounded. It was very chewy and overly distorted. It basically made, instead of sounding like a phaser and a distortion, it sounded like a fuzz, which was not the sound I was going for. And then my thought process was Van Halen. He just plugged the Phase 90 into the front end of his amp because those amps didn't have effects loops,
Right.
or and all the drive was coming from the amp, so it made sense to me. Well, let's put the Phase 90 before the drive. So I actually have the Phase 90 next.
Okay.
After that, though,
Walls.
whammy, any kind of pitch, dynamics, things like that, and then mine is followed by a compressor, the Dynacomp.
Yep.
And then after that, I have my drives, overdrive, distortion, fuzz, in that order because of the way they clip. If you put a tube screamer or super overdrive after a distortion, kind of defeats the purpose. So rather than, we're kind of like, it's kind of, again, my process is, my board is kind of like my amp, so I would do the single chain the same way, where it goes from least gritty to most gritty, from softest clip to square wave, harder clip.
I'm with you on that one.
And then with a booster after those, because to the same effect, if I had my booster before my overdrives and distortions, it would be very subtle, and it wouldn't actually really boost the volume because it would just be
you're almost boosting the overdrive, like boosting the actual just clipping them out.
So and I used to see that problem a lot when people would complain about their boosters not doing anything. And then I go, well, you're going into the front end of an amp? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's your problem. You're
You're
actually just making your amp
more distorted
signal going in hotter,
Yeah.
rather than actually boosting the signal.
So I'm with you on that. So the micropog I use a lot. It is a polyphonic octave generator. It gives me a sub octave and a octave up. I like that to go and get the most signal. But just because I have all these loops, I don't have to have it up front because it's not usually one that I go through and play with a lot while I'm playing. I typically have one setting that I use and that's it. So I'm going to toss it up here, but it's still going to be
Early
in loop one. It's still going to be early in loop one.
Yeah, pitch shifting pedals typically do better before distortion.
Yep.
Because if you try to, it sounds like the same thing, but it's not.
To be fair, it's so subjective. I know a lot of people kind of like putting a fuzz or distortion into it because it just makes it sound even more chaotic. So it just depends on what kind of sound you're wanting to achieve there.
But for the intents and purposes, it's the cleaner way to do it. Because if you are sending a distortion to it, these things are generating a pitch based off of what it's hearing.
Yep.
If it's hearing a bunch of other sounds, it's going to confuse it.
It gets
and you're
glitchy,
not going to get
cool.
good tracking. So while you might like that sound, I don't prefer it.
Yeah, and the way I typically use it is to turn it into more of an make my guitar sound more like an organ. So I'm typically run it very clean through delay and reverb. So that's why I like it out front. And then to caveat on what you're doing, I go then into my overdrives, and I am using 3 overdrives. Okay,
Because it's not excessive.
because why not? The biggest thing is they all sound good by themselves, but they can also stack, and people call that gain stacking or gain staging,
Yep.
Or pedal stacking.
I
gain
actually
staging.
have another term to throw out: cascading.
Ooh.
I cascade my overdrive into my distortion or into my fuzz.
Go for a cascade.
Cascade.
So this is the Greer Lightspeed Organic Overdrive, a great pedal. So that's typically my lower gain pedal. And then I go to my Ryra Klon. Love that pedal. And I use that with a little bit more gain. And it sounds, I kind of have it about the same gain level as the Lightspeed, just a little bit more, but I love putting them I love to cascade them.
And a tone tip too is, I mean, just in general, you probably don't need nearly as much gain as most guitarists use.
Nope.
You usually need more volume than gain because it'll actually sound more gainy the louder it is. But plus, when you do start cascading, or staging several overdrives together, you really don't need that much. In fact, you'll be surprised how gainy your overdrive pedals are at their lowest setting.
Yep.
Hot pickups too make a big difference.
Yep. The next pedal is the Angry Charlie. This is my high gain Marshall sound that I go for. So I love that pedal.
Like Charlie Brown.
Angry, yeah, because they do the Charlie.
Do they?
Then they do the. It's JHS, so they do some awesome stuff.
They also have the disgruntled Linus.
What do you go to next? What do you like after your overdrives?
Me personally, I have the booster pedal.
Okay.
I have the
EP Boost. The EP Boost. The Echoplex.
Bought it from a good friend.
Should have sold it. No.
And then and I have that before my delays because things like that tend to get a little bit noisy if you boost afterward.
Yeah.
So after that, I have my, because one delay was not enough.
No.
I had to have 2.
Yeah.
So I have my 2 delays after that.
Okay.
So modulation, time-based stuff, usually want to put after overdrives. Of course, if you want to go for what I like to call the orgy sound, where it kind of sounds, or corn, where it sounds like you got a chorus or something going into a distortion. It's kind of that new metal kind of sound,
like
doing it the other way, or more experimental sound. I've even heard of guys putting a bunch of RV5s. Is that the Boss RV5?
Yeah,
putting them ahead of a metal zone. Very experimental sounding. Not a sound I would go for, but again, these are all subjective things. You can chain these things up in any order you want. I prefer what I like to call the clean signal path, where things are done with purpose.
Well, one thing we didn't talk about, I usually will put my fuzzes after my overdrives.
Always.
So, and just so you know how I'm planning on looping these up, I'm going to have my overdrives in a separate loop, and I'm going to have my fuzzes in a separate loop. And then after my fuzzes, which Ryra Tri-Pi Muff and the ZVEX useless Fuzz Factory pedal.
Sounds like it's broken.
Just useless. I don't even know why I'm putting it on my board, but it's on it. And then I like to do compression after that.
See, and I'm of the other school of thought. And I guess we should go into the reasons why. I typically will put compressors before overdrive just because I do use a lot of gain sometimes. And compressors after these can get a bit noisy if you do it that way. But you said you like to do it because...
I like it as... a lot of times I'll use it as a volume boost because I can get a pure volume boost out of that. But and it's just very slight, so I will do that if I need to be a little bit louder instead of using my overdrives to give myself a volume boost. If I need to be up a little bit louder, I will punch my compression on where I have it. What's cool about this, it has a blend, so I can blend that compression. So I will blend just a little bit of compressed signal in, and then boost the volume, and that's my solo. That's my solo level there. Yep.
And maybe that's why I don't do it, because I have a booster afterwards.
Yeah. And I'll also, if I'm playing clean and I need to boost, that's same kind of concept. So it'll just give myself a little bit to push myself above the other instruments. Okay, so that is how I'm going to lay that out. Again, the JHS Pulpit Pill is going to be in its own loop as well, so I can kick that on and off. Okay. So that leaves me, let's see, I got one loop for those. I got, one loop for the Pog, one loop for there, one loop for there, one loop for here. So I got 3 more loops. I don't know if I have enough pedals. Yeah, I'm just kidding. Okay. I like to go delays next.
Okay.
Yep. That's typically what I like to do. I've got 2 delays. Yes. Oh wait, where did that come from? Oh,
and for me personally, back when I used to use them more, I would have my modulation choruses, flangers ahead of my delays. It's a matter of personal preference. Mostly because of the way that I was splitting it in stereo, because my chorus and flanger did not spread stereo as well. So, but the delay did. So it was about getting the biggest, widest sound possible.
Yeah, exactly.
Nowadays, I don't have one on my board at all anymore.
I definitely don't need 2 amps.
Yeah.
I would like that, but this is not a luxury I can afford. And there's a volume-wise, like keeping the stage noise down.
Yeah, it's a bunch of gear to haul around.
So I'm going to put, this is the Strymon Timeline.
Ooh,
it's, you know what, it's just, it does everything, and you could have 3 or 4 different delay pedals that do different things, but I just chose to get this to have it all in one.
There you go.
And it's just so easy to set, and plug it in your computer just opens up even more possibilities of saving loops or saving delay times and putting it back on, and it's awesome. But I definitely recommend reading the instruction manual.
It's got MIDI.
It's not one that you're going to be able to just plug and figure out right away, although the presets do sound great. So I'm going to put this here, but I'm going to give myself a little room, because this might not work as far as when we start plugging stuff in, and I may need to move the compressor up top. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of leeway there. And then I've got the tried and true carbon copy. I love that pedals. Analog. I think the 10-year anniversary of it, right? Is it this year? Or it's got to be 10 years.
Around, yeah. This is actually, I believe they're...
I thought it popped up on my feed.
This is I think the best-selling pedal since they resurrected this brand. Yeah. When Dunlop bought them years ago. As far as not the originals, this is their now like best-selling pedals, the carbon copy. See it on a lot of boards.
Yep.
It is good.
Love it.
Bucket Brigade. Just
turn the mix and delay all the way up in the region, and you got some crazy stuff. Yep. And then next, reverb. I put reverb on next.
I usually typically will put reverb very close to the end I don't believe you've got one, but the very last pedal in my chain is a looper, because I want to be able to record any sound.
I am saving a spot for the Ditto Jam.
You're going to get that Ditto Jam.
The Ditto Jam is going to be the live looper that'll follow the drummer, because a drummer can slow down or speed up. So this is reserved, so it's not going to be, let's see, I will put the Hall of Fame.
But other than that, reverb, if you don't use a looper, it should be like dead last.
Yeah. Now, you can get a very atmospheric effect if you do put reverb in front of your delays. That gets it'll make your delays sound cool.
You almost get like a reverse reverb kind of
It's weird, yeah. So that is something that if you want a specific sound, you can do. But yeah, so I think that's going to work. And then, like I said, that is... You just imagine the Ditto Jam there. It's about the size of the X2, so I need a little bit of space there.
And for those experimenting at home, it is, again, worth noting that it's a subjective thing, that everybody likes it differently. So it's worth getting to know your own gear, and the only way to try it is to actually do it.
You do. You just got to play with it.
Plug in your reverb before your metal zone. See what happens. See if you like it. Maybe you will. Who knows?
It is one of those things. I know people have their own opinions, and that's good. That's what we want to know.
Yes, this is called music theory, not music fact.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that's how we. So the next. So we've got. I think this is going to work, and that leaves me a loop. My last loop is going to be for the looper. A loop for the looper.
Looper loop. Loopity loop.
So next,
Bookity
what
book.
we need to do is
Pile of cables. And this is why the old board weighed 50 pounds.
probably. So I have a bunch of just cable pedals that I've accrued over the years. If you are starting fresh and you want to keep it nice and clean, they have these awesome Pedalboard cable kits, and you can actually measure and get them custom fit for your board, and it looks very clean.
Shameless
But-
plug, we carry both Boss and Planet Waves.
Yes. So awesome. They work great, and they're solderless, so you just cut it, plug it in, it works great. So we do have those. But I have more than enough, and I don't mind a little bit of unmatchy-matchy on my board.
You're not gonna need to take Ativan because of the non-matching.
My OCD. Alright, so
Somebody send me to a padded room.
those are great. I like the
Yeah,
pancakes.
these are the pancake connectors, and like I said, if you have two pedals like these where they're on the sides, you can fit these in a lot easier than say something a little bit bulkier like this, because
like that.
as you can see, you're gonna need that space. Also, you still have camera over here?
Yeah.
You're gonna need that much space in between them. So, like, if this one's jack were on the side, you'd see how that wouldn't work. So, but that might fit. So it's just something. It's a matter of personal preference and what you can afford. But I think that's one of the things that maybe if you have accrued this many pedals, you're not sure what you want to kind of streamline it all, get them all to the same types of cables. It's a good thing to understand where you are putting them, the length you are doing it at, and also the cables and the connectors in between. Or like for me, for instance, I have a similar setup where it's basically three rows of pedals, and at one point it'll go from say here all the way around to another pedal over here, which in that case you would maybe, instead of needing like a 6-inch, you might need a 1-footer or an 8. I think they're 18-inch on the Mogamis.
Yep.
18-inch, because again you're going from a full bore metal distortion here all the way over to your nano big muff.
Right.
So you're gonna need to go from here to there, because it's not. Otherwise, you're gonna end up with the straight line.
It's gonna look. It looks very, very. All right. So I plugged the tuner into. Now, on the back of this, you have a send and a receive. So I always say, and how I remember it is, it's send input. Even though you would think that the receive would be, so I put the send. It goes into the input of the pedal, and then the output it goes into the send.
I always think
send input, receive goes the output.
I always think of those like send and return on an effects loop.
Same thing.
Send is an output because you are sending it out. And this is where the fun of having a slotted pedal board like this is, because you can actually run it underneath sometimes. Or if you just have what I like to call the Home Depot special, where you we all start with something like this.
You got to.
You take a piece of plywood, you Velcro it, or punch some holes for zip ties in it. It's crude. It works though. But the thing is with this, since it's tilted up, for one, you have a better angle for your foot to hit these things, especially with multiple tiers. But it also gives you the ability to hide wires. So your power supplies, your cables that otherwise would just be hanging out on here like a big mess, you can tuck underneath, which is very, very handy. And just makes for a much neater and tidier pedal board.
And you can see, I'm having like you'll struggle because this grip's so good. If you're doing this fresh, you won't have any Velcro on your pedal board. It just makes it a lot easier because you're not having to rip. So
But when you're a grizzled veteran,
when you have too many pedals,
this ain't my first board.
this ain't my first rodeo.
But the good news about that is, and I had this problem when I was doing the mock-up for my board, is I hadn't put down this Velcro yet. So
Oh yeah.
when I would go to do anything, I'd forget and then slip. There goes all my pedals.
That's true.
It's like, why did I'm so stupid? Why did I remember that? So there's again good and bad from that. And if they are difficult to remove, that is a problem you want to have. Because I don't know where all of our beautiful viewers will be watching this. We are in Florida. And if you so much as leave inferior Velcro in your car for more than 20 minutes, you are going to take your pedal board out at your gig, and it's gonna look like melted chocolate. Your pedal board's just sliding down. All your pedals are rather.
I'm maneuvering.
Ooh, this is the Warwick one.
Yeah, it is.
Maybe this is a good time to go through. Let's just throw this out there. These couplers, can come in many different shapes and sizes. What's good, what's bad. I say whenever you're building a pedal board, because again, these are going to be more for live use, I would focus more on functionality than anything. Because when you're talking about, stuff that your audience is gonna hear, they're not gonna go, is that spiral shielded? Was that a gold plated connector? No, they're probably just going to drink and enjoy your music. So that's the goal. It should definitely be more about functionality, because when you're in a studio environment and you can zero in and go, ooh, that's kind of a noisy setup, you can always do things to isolate them later. So I would worry more about functionality than anything. Of course, I'm kind of OCD, and all of my patch cables are exactly the same. Aside from maybe length, because some of them are longer and shorter. But my signal chain is 100% Mogami Gold. I've been lucky enough to buy one or two at a time over the years, until I had accrued an entire pedal board to it.
Thank you for talking while I'm navigating this board.
Nobody ever said that I wasn't good at running my mouth. But you'll notice that too. I mean, there's nickel here. Let's see. We can probably get a close up here. Might be able to edit that into the shot. You have your normal nickel ones, then you have some that are gold tips, completely gold plated. But Rick here is no slouch, so regardless of how mismatched these are all quality cables.
They are.
Planet Waves, Warwick, MXR. These are all reputable cables, most of which have a lifetime guarantee. In fact, this looks like one of the cable kits, huh?
That is actually. That's the D'Addario,
So
or the Planet Waves.
If you can zoom in on that, this is actually built off of one of those Planet Waves D'Addario cable kits. You can see how easy that is to put together. You just screw it on there once you cut it for length, and you have a custom cable, because you may not need this much, or you may need longer, or you might need shorter. So, and I always, just because you're a guitar player does not mean that you are a seasoned veteran of the tech world and know how to solder. It's the old Mitch Hedgeberg joke. It says you're a cook. Can you farm? Well, these are great if you don't know how to solder, because you just use basic hand tools, which are included in the kit. And gives you a nice sense of accomplishment, like you made something. It's good. It's good stuff.
This is a little bit time-consuming process, but we do want to spend some time and make
Actually,
sure.
we were flying through this.
Yeah, actually.
Because you already had an idea of what you were putting together, and let's be not be coy. We've done this before.
That.
We're definitely experts with the drill too. Oh,
Maybe now we know.
we have another carbon copy.
Yeah, that was we have one used in the store.
Was that supposed to be up here?
No, I don't.
Let's put it on the
some
board.
reason. Yeah, 2 carbon copies.
One before and after.
That's a placeholder. Placeholder for the. All right, and then this one. Let me go here.
And I don't know if you did this intentionally, because I don't know if you ever use the XLR output, but here's another reason to put something like this on, is where you put it, because you would never be able to get to this. I don't know if you, can you see me, camera guy? You would never be able to get to this if it weren't on the outside edge.
Yeah. And I do that, like if I ever just need to run direct, I mean, I could do that and then they could blend. So there's possibilities there.
Which was another design philosophy to my board, which I wish I had a picture of to, since I keep referencing it. But I left a little bit of space on mine in case I ever needed to go through the effects loop of a certain amp, because right now all the amps that I'm using, I'm just running the clean channel, pedals go into the front end, and I'm running it in mono. But if I was going in stereo, or if I wanted to use the effects loop, I left myself room to do so, because certain amps you want to use the amps gain and not, just rely on pedals. And in those cases, I don't want, if I'm using, say, the high gain on my Randall amp, I don't want my Ditto to be plugged into that, because recording distortion and distorting recording is 2 different sounds. The second one, not so great.
Super transparent. Okay, and as you can see, there's a lot of cables. I'm going to zip tie this down as well, so I'm going to give it some extra support.
What do we need? Zip ties?
Yeah, let's do zip ties. Let's get this thing zip tied down.
Zip it good.
Actually, I've got these thicker ones. They give you some zip ties. They're great for doing like the power supply and the power cables, but
we're heavy duty, bro. We go to Home Depot.
I need it to reach all the way around. Let's go under.
Yeah, because you will notice that when you start zip tying pedals and such, that if you don't have long enough zip ties, you will end up putting 2 together. I think I ended up doing that on 1 or 2 of mine. I think it was going around my power supply, actually. It's just like guitar strings. You don't want to leave these on here.
They look tacky.
You can't do anything cute with them like you can your guitar strings. So.
See, night and day. I mean, just those 3 zip ties. I might put one more there just for kicks.
Just for moral support.
So the one pedal.
So I don't know how you like to do it, but I usually like to cover as much as I can without making it.
I usually go in between the screws.
Because that way, if you do need to open it up for any reason, you still can.
Because inside is a dip switch that can change it from volume to expression, which I think it comes set as expression. I believe. Actually, it might come set as volume. But
if we can get a good look at that, if you follow me, camera guy, if you do need to do any maintenance, or if for some reason you're one of these crazy people that would build a pedal board but still not switch from batteries, you could open it up. So again, make sure it's clean as possible.
It's clean.
And then get it in there like so. And usually want them to be pretty well centered so it holds well. So that's good.
Yeah, so looks like that. Nice and clean, but I can still reach all those.
You need to get those access points open.
In case I need to get
just in case.
Switch the functionality of the pedal. Ooh, so cute.
Yep.
These are so cute.
You can sit on a stool and do both at the same time.
It's direct drive. Direct drive. Okay. So the tap tempo is I'm gonna run that out to here. Expression pedal, I'm gonna run that into here. It's got an expression out right there. So I will do that later. Let's do some power hookup. So
Always check your pedals' power consumptions before doing this.
Here's all the power cables, and yeah, it is 9-volt, but I think it's like 400 milliamps.
Yes, so to not only know the voltage of your pedals, but it's really good to know the draw. Because again, back to what we were saying about the one spot, and it's 1700 milliamps. I believe the average, let's say your basic run-of-the-mill distortion stop box, probably going to be about 10 to 30 milliamps typically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then again, digital pedals, they're a little bit more power hungry, so it might be 100 or more. But then you have really power hungry pedals, like my old talk box had its own power supply, which was 2,000 milliamps or 2 amps, which is crazy. That's a lot of power, even though it was still a 9-volt. And you always want to try to go for the right amount of volts, but typically you can get away with overpowering, but you do not want to underpower because that will short it out. Mm-hmm. You will short out your pedal and it may never work again. So
what I'm doing right now is just plugging in all the power into the pedal, and then we're going to flip the board upside down so you can see how we actually
go ahead and wire it up.
Mm-hmm. And what's cool, the Voodoo Lab pedal power, it tells you whether it's 400 or 100 or whatnot.
But before doing any of those, always reference the power consumption of your pedal. You can find this information online, or a lot of times they print it right there on the pedal.
The pedal power, well, and even in the manual on the power supply, it'll tell you too what some are usually are. Like when it comes to brands. Like
so it's just, again, we've probably said it a few times already, but get to know your gear. Mm-hmm. Using the right tool is a lot less expensive than replacing what you need to because you used the wrong one. And once something's toast, it's toast. So.
Mm-hmm. Here we go. Look at that! No pedals. And it's still lighter.
And the flowers are still on the table.
Yes. Okay, so you can see you've got this here.
You can see we're out of breath from this.
It's not that bad. So it tells you, Joe, just see so like here, you're 1 through 4 or 12 volt or 9 volt, depending on which way the dip switch is. Right now I've got them all set to 9 volt, and then you've got 12 to 16 volt, and then 4 to 9 volt, and those are options. So all my pedals are 9 volts, but these do have like, I believe I usually plug the Strymon into here because it's a higher, that's my 400 milliamps, and then all these are going to be usually like 100. So let's see.
So your power hungry pedals.
Yes. So, and this is where you start using your zip ties, and you kind of clean up and get your cables tied to here, and keeps it nice and clean.
And then then you have those pedals too, which would be another good reason to have the extra input or outlet rather on your pedal power, because let's say you have something like an older whammy or something that uses its own proprietary power supply. You wouldn't want to try to run it off of this. When you chain all these kind of pedals together, the noise is only going to exponentially compound, especially when you start hitting overdrives, fuzzes, compressors, things of that nature. So if you have a little bit of noise leaking into your signal chain at the beginning of the chain, it's only going to compound from there. So then your delay is going to get noisy, your fuzz is going to be noisy. Good reason to isolate all those different things. It's just going to add up to a cleaner sound. And one of my favorite sayings is sometimes tone is made up of what you don't hear rather than what you do hear. So.
All right, so I've got it plugged in. The only one I made sure was to give the Strymon Timeline enough power, so I plugged into the 400 milliamps. Everything else was plugged into my 9 volts. I think it's 100 for all of these.
Yep.
and then this can go either or. Sorry.
Let's flip this thing back over. And that's it.
Yep. So we're going to just do some cleanup on this and plug in my expression pedals, and then we're going to come back and make sure it works.
Test it out.
Hang on one second. I'm running. I'm going to go get the drill bit. Drill bit. Drill bit. Joe, entertain him. Tell a joke or something. Don't Garth out on me, man.
Starting to get hair in really weird places. You know, like under the couch.